Alright guys, welcome back. On this channel I talk about learning. I think I can help you learn more quickly. Today I'm going to talk about the importance of repetition in learning. And when I mean repetition, I'm not specifically talking about like if you're doing a skill like learning to shoot a basketball, shooting a basketball over and over. For this specific video, I'm more talking about just because the repetition in that is extremely important as well. But in this specific video, I'm just going to talk about the repetition of gaining information, how to actually gain information about your skill, about whatever you're trying to learn. Maybe you're trying to pass a test, maybe you're trying to learn something at work, whatever it is, how to actually gain that information and be able to apply it to what you're doing. So anyways, number one, we don't fully understand information at first glance, okay? It would be wonderful if I could just read something about how to do something, right? Or read something about, if it's a very simple concept, you may understand it immediately, but anything that's a little more complex, right? You're going to read it and you may gain like a basic grasp of what it means, but I guarantee you don't have enough context yet. You don't have enough nuance yet to fully understand the information that you read and actually apply it to whatever you're doing, right? So unfortunately, you can't fully understand information, fully understand context just at one read, one glance, right? It's kind of like peeling back layers of an onion, right? When you first read it, that's the very first layer of the onion. You peel that back. And then when you come back again and see the information again, you're peeling it back and peeling it back as you gain more context. But I'm going to talk about that more later. But anyways, yeah, this is just the undeniable truth about, humans. Unless you maybe have a genius level IQ, you're probably not going to read and interpret information on the very first try perfectly, right? So keep that in mind as a premise moving forward into this video. So with that being said, since I've literally just told you it's actually impossible to understand everything at first, stop trying to understand everything, right? One thing I see people do is they try so hard to understand everything that they read or everything about the skill. Like when they first start, they think that they need to have this very structured learning routine, learning formula that's going to lead them to mastery, right? But if you try to understand things you're just not ready for, you don't have enough context for, it's actually a big waste of time, okay? And the reason I say that is because if you just keep engaging with information within your skill, if you just keep moving forward, even when you don't understand things perfectly, and you just keep getting more information and keep getting more context and nuance, eventually that information that you didn't understand will naturally come back up. Okay, you're going to naturally encounter it again as you continue moving forward in your skill, as you continue trying to gain information. The previous information will come back up, okay? So don't be scared of like losing info or not understanding everything, okay? It's completely normal, like I said, to not understand everything at the beginning. It's a dangerous path to try to understand the nuance behind every little thing when you first start, because you end up going down these little rabbit holes that aren't necessarily helpful to your growth, and you're not getting this like deep understanding of the skill as a whole, right? You may get this very flawed understanding of one specific thing, right? But what you want at the beginning is kind of to cast your net a little wider, right? And kind of get a grasp on what's going on within your skill in general. And then as you move forward, you can go deeper and deeper into those nuanced areas, into those gray areas. So anyways, also, a lot of times, if you try to understand everything at first, it's not necessarily effective, because eventually, as you progress in your skill, as you continue to engage in whatever thing you're trying to learn, you're going to run into choke points, right? Where you just can't progress any further until you get this one piece of information, or until you get these certain pieces of information, right? And when you reach those choke points where you can't actually go further, or you're running into an issue that you don't know how to solve, that's when you'll go back and find information specifically about those things, right? So you don't have to worry so much, again, about understanding everything as you read it, as you do it, because what happens is when you need that information, when you actually need it to progress, is when you have the context to go and find it and immediately apply it to your skill, right? So again, having this insane structure for how to learn is not necessarily the best strategy. In my opinion, the best strategy is to engage with the material, engage with the skill as a whole, and slowly peel back those layers as you go, and as you need information, going and looking it up, going and finding it, information that you already have context for, right? Okay, next, just some tips regarding this. I do recommend go back and watch old material. Like for example, when I was watching a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructionals, I would watch it one time and then I would go back and passively watch it again, or even watch it, 2 or 3 times, the same exact tutorial. Because the thing is, the first time you watch it, you're not going to get all the information, right? You'd be lucky if you even got, 30-40% of the information. You watch it again, maybe that moves up to 50. You watch it again, maybe you're getting 75, right? So the more and more times you engage, the more and more times you repeat watching that information, the more you unpeel the layers of that onion, and you gain a deeper, more nuanced understanding, and you get really all of that information starts to actually sink in more deeply. But you have to keep repeating, right? You're not going to get it all at once. That's really the point of this video. And you have to think, like, for example, at the first time you watch something, you basically build the context for the second time you watch it. And the second time you watch it, you build even more context for the third time you watch it, right? Because, like, if it's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructional, for example, and a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructional, if you don't know, is just like a technical video that's usually an hour, 2 hours long. Some of them are very long, like 8 hours, but they're split into sections where they explain how to do techniques in depth, right? But the first time you watch it, maybe you just understand kind of what the technique is and kind of where they use it, but you don't get the details. But now that you understand what it is and where you use it, the next time you watch it, that context helps you go a little deeper. And then after the second time, the context that you built there helps you the next time you watch it go a little bit deeper. And that's kind of how it works. That's kind of how eventually you can absorb all of that information and become more proficient in your skill and really understand it on a deep level. So I have like one last analogy for how when you are building your skill, right, how it kind of works. So think of how strange it would be if you were building a house, right? Like imagine a finished house is mastering your skill. Like everything, you've got furniture, everything, the electricity, the electrical systems, the plumbing, everything is done. A completely nice new house. But at the beginning, when you're building that house, it wouldn't make any sense to just start with a bedroom, right? And then keep working on that bedroom until completion, right? And putting furniture in that bedroom and doing everything that you would need in the finished project, but just in that bedroom, right? It wouldn't make any sense, because a much more efficient way to build a house, right, is to build the whole house, the whole outline of the house, and slowly over time add layers and layers, right, to kind of the whole house. So yeah, you might be focusing, like you build your scaffold and you build your frame of the house or whatever it is, and you might be focusing on the bedroom for a little bit, but you're not going to push the bedroom so far ahead of everything else, right? It doesn't make any sense. You kind of have to spread out your information and keep going in layers as you learn, right? So you may focus on the bedroom area, and then you move to the living room, and then you move to the blah, 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 and then you get back to the bedroom and you go a little further, and then you kind of space it that way. Now, I'm not saying it's terrible to like get really nuanced in one specific area of your skill for a time, but just in general, I want you to think about, casting a little bit of a wider net over your skill and just engaging with your skill as a whole, and kind of trying to build that context and nuance, and like build the context first and then the nuance after, kind of in a wide net within your skill. And you do that by consistently revisiting information and continuing to, just repeat, just revisiting over and over. And I don't know why I just fucked up so bad at the end of the video, but I think it was a pretty good video overall, guys. So if you have any questions, please leave a comment and I will make a video for you specifically. If not, please like and subscribe and have a great day. Thank you so much.